Chairman, thank you. To all of our witnesses, thank you very much for your work and your testimony and for bringing all these different ideas for our conversation today. Mr. Hawkins, I want to ask you a little bit about opportunity zones as well. You spoke about and wrote about democratizing opportunity zone investment. Can you go in a little deeper in that for me?
Sure. And so opportunity zones basically have three levels of possible benefit. If once you have a capital gain and you reinvest that capital gain in an opportunity zone, first you get a 10-year, up to 10-year deferral of that capital gains tax liability. Second, if you invest for longer periods of time, 5 or 7 years, then you get what's called a step up in basis or a little bit off that tax bill. You're still going to owe, but you get a little bit off that tax bill. And the last benefit refers to the investment in the zone. So if I invest in, let's say, a Shay Hawkins version of Facebook or something like that, what it says is if I hold that investment for more than 10 years, then I get a 100% step up in basis or no capital gains tax liability when I sell that company in 15 or 20 years. So what we can do is for the purposes of that 100% step up in basis, for holding that company for 10, 11, 15, 20 years, we can allow non-capital gains to be invested for that purpose and get the benefit of that 100% step up in basis. And so what it would do, if there's 10,000 people in a community who want to come together and give $100 to make a $1 million investment to pool their money, people who wouldn't have capital gains normally can then participate in opportunity zones and benefit in one additional way, not just with increased property values, not with just increased access to goods and services, not with just increased jobs that come with opportunity zones, but also they can participate as investors.
Okay, that's helpful as well. I've worked extensively on trying to be able to get access to retirement money for an emergency fund without a tax penalty in the process. This is something I've worked on quite a bit, continue to be able to work on a good proposal. I want to incentivize more people to be able to save for retirement, but I also
Yes.
want to reduce the penalty that people pay if they have to pull that out. If your refrigerator goes out or your car has damage or whatever it may be, very few people have an emergency fund. And so they never save for retirement because they think they can't get access to it in case of an emergency, but to be able to give some access to that. There's been some debate on how big that is because you want to incentivize people to save for retirement. It can't be just an emergency fund that you're pulling from because you're trying to incentivize for retirement savings as well to be able to help people. But you've got to also get access to those dollars so that people don't pay a 10% tax penalty if they have to get to it. The question I would have for you, what would you suggest is the dollar amount that would need to be there that people could get access to for an emergency fund and still incentivize them saving for retirement? How big should that dollar amount be that they're allowed to get to for their emergency fund out of their 401k?
It's going to vary for different families, but I think it would need to be set certainly. When you're looking at thousands of dollars, I would imagine that in the $3,000 to $5,000 range would be a threshold that would make sense for most families because if you're looking at it could be a basement flooding or any other type of emergency that you can think of. And when you look at how low the saving rates for the people in the lower 50% of the American income scale, when you look at how low those rates are, with an average retirement savings in that group of zero, they're going to be reluctant, as you said, to set that money aside if they know they can't get their hands on it in the case of a temporary emergency.
Does anyone else have an opinion about what that dollar amount should be, both to incentivize retirement and then to also allow people to get access to some of that money for an emergency? Does anyone have a dollar amount that you would prefer? I'm going to take that as a no then from our panel. Panel, thank you very much for contributing on this. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to give you 18 seconds back.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness, Senator Lankford. Senator Casey.